who'd like to go first? Elena.
I can jump in. Yeah, I'm Elena. I'm from Russia, and I was invited by Mafe. Mafe, thank you very much, because even spending like these 5 minutes discussing with a person and getting sort of new information, very inspiring. So I greatly appreciate, happy to be here. I'm dealing with innovation ecosystems, like mainly at Caltech, which is an analog of MIT, but here in Russia. But also I'm responsible for reskilling as a service program supported by Boston Consulting Group, but also supported by Google. We're helping people in Russia to have a new profession, but do it like not low level skilling to reskilling, upskilling, but taking conscious steps on like examining self, what kind of profession I want to get. So it's a kind of new thing. So we experimented with methodology, and that's why the future of work is very important for us. So I trying to connect with different groups to be really like in line with going on at international level. So we just launched this program for women, and it will be another 2 segments for including silver age people, because we have here also problem for these people, because we have a reformation of our system of supporting this category of people, and it's a national huge problem. That's why we also need to support them. So basically that's it. Hello everybody, I'm very happy, and thanks Mafe for bringing me here.
Welcome, welcome. Fran, do you want to say hello?
Yeah, sure. Happy to go next. Hi everyone, I'm Fran Pestana, and I'm new here today. I came across this really and sort of jumped in after listening to a podcast at the weekend, and then following up with interest around the Open Assembly and the work that's kind of happening in this space. But I work for Eamon, which is a global energy company, mostly based in Europe. And I'm a global talent manager, and I'm really looking at building the case at the moment for bringing in a digital talent marketplace, but from an internal perspective. But I guess ultimately the aspiration would be that would also obviously facilitate exchange across the sort of external workforce as well. It's a big cultural endeavor for us, and we're trying to just really get the appetite, the excitement, and the opportunity to bring this kind of digital platform in at the moment. So that's a bit about me, and I'll drop my LinkedIn profile. Really happy to be here and to connect with you all. Thank you.
Thanks. Anyone else?
Hi, I'm Eamon Davenport. I was invited by Mafe as well, and just met Elena, which was wonderful. It's a pleasure to be here. In my second life, or throughout my life, actually, I was developing a paradigm that deals with culture development at its core level. And right now, I consider myself a culture strategist. If we were to stop the momentum of history and build forward, as climate change changes things, the diasporas the people are in, if we were to develop forward, how are we going to do that? What are the pieces, the core pieces, elements of cultural development that we need to look at, make sure we do best practices and move forward? So I'm excited about the work. I'm right now discussing developing a team of people who would like to work with a refugee camp with that has 119,000 people in it, and approximately 6 to 10 different cultures and various language bases. So it's I'm excited about that, but it's new, it's fledgling, and we'll see what we can do with it. It's a start. So thank you.
Welcome. And as a reminder, yeah, feel free to drop in your information in the chat. Okay, I got some folks still coming in here. John's messaging me, he can't get in. I don't know what's going on, but
I can send him a new link, so hopefully that'll work.
Yeah, no problem. Let's see here.
Maybe I can speak. Makadu.
Yes, please.
Okay, my name is Marc. I'm originally from Senegal, and I live in the Washington, D.C. area. I took early retirement 15 years ago from the World Bank, exactly from the IFC, International Finance Corporation, which is a private sector arm of the World Bank. So I help people develop their projects, bring it to the World Bank. At the same time, later on also, I did provide financing and funding to the private sector, people, small scale enterprises. So I took early retirement 15 years ago. So right now I'm involved in 3 businesses. One is real estate business throughout the US. Second is teaching consultants how to consult once and get paid twice by telling them how to access funding through the World Bank and get a fee from there in addition to their regular fees. And the third, last but not least, is I'm a grandfather of 2 kids. So that's been taking a lot of my time right now, going back to Africa to visit my daughter and my grandchildren. So those are the 3 involvement I'm right now. And I was invited by Mafe, who I met through the CEO organization, and whatever Mafe asks me to do, I jump. So that's why I'm here.
Well, welcome. Oh, here comes John. All right, here he is. So while John's loading up, I'm going to pass the mic to Ritika from Magenta to talk about their new resource they have available.
Thanks, Brandon.
You bet.
Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. I am Ritika. You may not have seen me around here a lot, but you have definitely seen Marc Hannon, the founder of Magenta. If you've not seen me, you've definitely seen my work. I had the pleasure of co-creating the networked organization playbook with the amazing team at Open Assembly. That's Catherine, Brian, John, and Ashley, without whom it wouldn't have been possible. So if you haven't read it, please go read it. So a little bit about Magenta. We specialize in B2B communications. And over the past few months, we've been gathering insights from the community and thinking about what makes great thought leadership. So in September, we published a communications handbook for thought leaders. Holding something in print after a very long time feels really good, guys. It's packed with tons of practical tips on how to make the best of your company's knowledge assets. Oh, thanks, Ashley. I just saw the chat. And you can grab a free copy of this. It's not printed though, but the PDF version of it on the website. Brandon, do you need me to pull up the link, or will you be able to share
I just dropped the links into the chat, and I'll do it again here just in case.
All right, thanks.
Yep,
so yeah, that's what we've created. And at the end of this month, which is now next Friday, the 29th of September, we're having a webinar, which I would love for all of you to join in. We've invited 3 of the contributors there. One of them is Shobha Purushottanam. She's a founder of Hard Skills. If you've been a regular on the CTW calls, you would have heard her speak a little while ago. We've got Abhijit Shankar, who's the former internal comms chief at UNICEF. And we've got Chris Devonshire Ellis, who is the founder for Devonshire and Associates. So they're joining us from Berlin, New York, and Colombo. And they're all expert practitioners, and they've got tons of experience. And the webinar is free. It should last about 40 minutes. It'll be a really lively discussion, so please join in. Would love to hear your thoughts if you get a chance to read this lovely piece of communication. And yeah, I hope to see you all there. Back to you, Brandon.
All right. John, John, are you here? I think I see you and hear you now.
I am, yeah, I'm here. Can you guys hear me? Sorry about that. I had a crazy experience. I'm down here in Mexico to write my book, and so I had some guys came by yesterday and replaced my DSL line with fiber optic, which really made my machine, go. And I'm in a small village in Mexico. Really made my speed go up tremendously. Unfortunately, the whole town's power went out this morning. So it doesn't matter if you have fiber optic or DSL, you got to still have power. And so kind of the hack together solution. So apologies to be late to the meeting.
No problem. I'll just finish up here with some announcements. So Talent Alpha has a new report, and Agni, if you wanted to touch on that.
Yes, with pleasure. So I was told I have 3 minutes, so I will be very quick. So at the moment, I would like just to inform you, I will put the link in the chat in a moment that we co-created with Open Assembly and other great partners, the report. I'm trying to scroll it, but it's not so easy. So let me try. Okay, so with some great partners, the report about the future of work. It's a little bit different report that usually we talk about in this meeting. So it's more about trends. These were not our research. Of course, we did research, a lot of desk research. We also spoke to many people all around the world. But it's more about understanding trends, putting things together, connecting dots, and thinking what the future of work could be, or what's going on now. So this year we focused on something that we call A3 revolution. A3 is an acronym that is already used on in some circles to explain how the work went from the full-time employees and sitting in the office to anywhere work, anytime work. And any place from different kind of places of work and different models. So just I will scroll down through the report to show you what is it about. And I would like to invite you for the report, for the download, also for the webinar that we will run together with Barry about the human cloud. So please just have a look. Download, read, and we will have an occasion to talk more about the report on 4th of November. I will be happy to tell you more what we found out, what our speakers, partners shared with us. And when you read the report, you will see also parts like John, a very nice comment. You will be able to see some of your logos here. So it's the Open Assembly map that we were it was very nice to get it and put it in our report. Thank you for that. And there is a Barry's part on how to implement the open talent in organizations.
We're gonna present this in more depth on the on November 4th for everyone on the call. So be on the lookout for that information when we announce it.
Yeah, thanks, Agnes. That was really
Thank
great.
you.
Hey, yeah, thanks for allowing us to participate in it. It's really awesome to work with you guys. Love what you guys are doing. Hey, Ashley, I know you've got some things from the education committee you wanted to just mention briefly.
Yeah, thanks, John. So the education and marketing workstream is looking to recruit some additional members. For those of you who aren't familiar, the education and marketing workstream, our main mission has been, at least in the past, to produce and leverage content to do two things. One, to educate the enterprise on the challenges and opportunities of open talent and open innovation models, but also to empower and advocate for the supply side. So this workstream was largely responsible for producing the networked organization playbook that Ritika and the team over at Team Magenta worked on in partnership with Open Assembly. So if you're interested or have expertise to bring to the table, we welcome it. Feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn, or I'll put my email in the chat. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Ashley. Really appreciate it. So we're going to, Brandon, is it time to jump into the main event? I think it's going to be such an interesting session.
It's up to you and Barry. I don't know if you guys had any announcements from the driver's seat there, but if not, yeah, I'll let you guys take it over and talk about crypto.
Barry, anything you want to add overall?
I mean, no, I mean, I think, well, I mean, I want to add something before we ask Katrina to take the stage, because I think this is such an important topic for us. If we think about the passion economy, ownership economy, open talent, it's all decentralized. We're not looking for employment, we're looking to look after ourselves and almost taking control of our careers. And everything that we do in Web 3.0, the whole Web 3.0 world is is decentralized. And Web 3.0, for those who don't know, and I didn't know until I read about it recently, Web 1.0 was, you know, when we all discovered the internet and realized we could talk to our relations on the other side of the world using video, and we discovered Facebook and the like. And then Web 2.0 is a big tech companies started to sort of take control of the internet. And every time we click on Facebook or Instagram, they're collecting our data and harvesting it. And Web 3.0 is really about the globe taking more control for what happens, and doing it on crypto or on blockchain with a decentralized model. If you think about decentralized finance and cryptocurrencies. And so the world of Web 3.0 and the world of open talent are both decentralized. They're both inextricably linked, and we can't really talk about the future of work without thinking about Web 3.0. And we want, as you know, through the Center for the Transformation of Work, we want to set it up on blockchain. We want the community to be incentivized using a tokenomics model. We want to set it up as a decentralized organization without a center, without a board and a governance model. And to some, that's terrifying. So this is all fascinating stuff, and it's all moving pretty quickly. And so we need somebody who really knows about it to lead us on this journey. And Katrina is that leader, and she knows more about Web 3.0 than I will ever know, probably. So I'm going to hand over to Katrina to tell us a little bit about what's happening in Web 3.0, what we're talking about when we talk about DAOs and blockchains and NFTs, but also what we're thinking about doing with the CTW tokenomic model. So Katrina, over to you.
Perfect. Hello, everyone. I think I've met many of you before. My name's Katrina Gamueda-Smith. I've been with Open Assembly / CTW since February of this year. I helped out with the OTPCP, or the Open Talent Professional Certification Program. And all the while that I was helping with that training and certification program, I was helping throw the world's largest pizza party in partnership with what is called Pizza DAO. And so while I've been working in tech and helping with this professional certification program with Open Assembly, I've also been exploring very deeply the potential and the boundaries, if you will, of Web3. And so some of you have heard this story before, but Pizza DAO was formed back in February of 2021. It was a group of strangers who met on Clubhouse, and within 3 weeks of meeting each other, we had managed to raise $1.5 million through the sale of NFTs. So we brought a product to market within 3 weeks, raised $1.5 million through the sale of NFTs. And the main function, or the main purpose or goal, was to throw the world's largest pizza party. And so on May 22nd, we gave out over $300,000 worth of pizza across the globe in over 60 countries and over 210 pizzerias. And we threw the world's largest pizza party. And I can basically testify that all of this was only capable through the work of this DAO that we had formed off of Clubhouse. And so Balaji has a great question. What happened to the 1.2 million after the $300,000 worth of pizzas, right? So the remaining treasury that we held within the DAO was left up to the community to vote on what to do. So at the very beginning of our DAO's founding, we had decided that we would compensate the folks within the DAO based on a pizzanomics, if you will, based on whole pizzas, slices of pizza, and obviously like compensation through any kind of monetary based reward that made sense. And so where the rest of that money sits, Balaji, right now is within a multi-sig wallet owned by 7 members of the DAO. I am one of those multi-sig owners. And what is to be done with the treasury is voted on by the DAO and requires at least 5 signatories to make movements with those funds. So a portion of that treasury has been staked on another staking protocol. You can kind of think of it as investing your token somewhere else to see if they can build and earn more on some kind of other like investing or staking protocol. And so a portion of our treasury has been put up to that. And the rest just sits in our multi-sig waiting to be decided on what those funds are to be used for. Currently, we have proposals in process whereby a lot of folks within the DAO can present free pizza parties or pizza sponsorships by Pizza DAO with other big NFT or community initiatives. So for example, we just sponsored through our treasury funds a party in India, a pizza party in India, for kind of like an introduction to cryptocurrency in India with the community out there. And a lot of folks came back and said, this was the first time I ever had pizza, right? These types of things, for sure. And so that's kind of where our treasury sits right now, but it's largely up to the determination of the DAO. So where does this intersect Open Assembly and CTW? And please, yes, oh my goodness, I always want pizza, Todd. Basically, that's my life now. But where does this intersect Open Assembly and CTW? So John and I got talking about, the functions of Pizza DAO, the possibilities of Web3 and what it allows groups of people to do. And what John effectively said is we have a group of people who are incredibly talented, and we've been operating in this kind of semi-decentralized, semi-autonomous way for a while now. And I said, yeah, I mean, if you're talking about the future of work, what might it look like for you to push the CTW model towards kind of like a DAO structure? And that's really where we started to ideate and experiment with this idea of moving the CTW community towards a DAO model. And so, for me, if we are claiming to be the future of work, it really makes sense to entangle ourselves with Web3 technologies. But it's really not just to say like, oh, we're Web3, we're the future of work, we have to do this. But I think that moving CTW towards a DAO model actually serves the long-term vision of what I understand Open Assembly and CTW to be, which is to change work for 1 billion people by 2025, right? To basically change the way that people operate and function together and still earn money to sustain their way of life. And so a CTW DAO allows CTW to continue to pull its resources, skills, ideas, while broadening the contribution and the benefit to a broader audience, right? So right now we have the folks who are on this call. We all benefit from certain things within this, whether it's, like some social utility or some benefit from the resources that we leverage between one another. But imagine if we were to introduce this to a broader audience, right? We've already been operating in this fairly decentralized and autonomous way. Now imagine if we were to invite 1 million or 1 billion people into this ecosystem and we were to all benefit from the shared skill sets and contributions of the community. Sorry, just reading some of the questions and comments here. And so what the DAO format to me does is adds a layer of structure and governance to realize these common goals, to realize the idea of transforming work for 1 billion people by 2025. And it adds the opportunity for others to learn, right? We invite these others in to learn, to add value, to benefit from the common ecosystem. So imagine this community where folks are invited in. It not only teaches them how to be successful in the future of work, but also incentivizes them to give back to the ecosystem through a token reward model. And it essentially becomes profitable for all members, right? So I've been talking for a little bit. I see some questions coming in. What are the risks? What are the benefits? How can we all help, right? the beauty of a DAO is because it's decentralized and autonomous, everybody can help in their own way. What I saw with Pizza DAO is folks can come in and contribute a lot or a little, and it all helps to advance the idea or the mission of free pizza across the globe, right? Free pizza for everyone forever. It might sound a little bit crazy at face value, but when you consider that there are DAOs out there who increase their treasury value by about $1 million a day, you can imagine that it could be possible to sustain free pizza for everyone forever. So when you ask, how can we help? Right, I think, you know, everybody lends their own set of skills to the advancement of the DAO's mission. But also we can help to create the outline for the DAO. You know, what we've talked about is CTW and OA are going to come forward with like the first iteration of the smart contract. What a smart contract is really kind of the operating agreements for the community that's coded into the blockchain. That allows everybody to see the rules and the regulations of this community at all times, and to interact with it and kind of prove it valid by, you know, the function of the blockchain at all times. And so our thought is to bring forth the first idea of the smart contract and then allow everybody to contribute their thoughts and ideas, right? So your feedback on what we're initially structuring will be very beneficial. And then long-term, your contributions to the DAO in a large or a small capacity will help advance its mission. I don't want to talk too much here, but I think maybe I continue to keep answering some of these questions unless folks want to jump in.
I think that's a really good idea, Katrina, if you can address the questions one by one. They're really good questions coming in.
Yep, lots of good questions. So what are the risks and what are the benefits? Todd asked that. I think that's a really good question, right? Some of the risks we don't necessarily know until we start going, right? The basis of the Web3 space is that it's like the next frontier. And so it allows folks to create and ideate in a multitude of ways, all of which are essentially unchecked by like common institutions or common infrastructures, right? And not unchecked in a way where it's like, oh, it's anarchy over here, but in a sense where it's like, wow, just imagine the day the internet got invented, how many people had ideas on how to create over here, right? Websites, apps, different technologies, delivery systems, all of those different things. We're now on the table through, you know, Web 2.0 essentially being available to a broader community. And that's essentially what we're intersecting with now in Web3 is you can create in a lot of different ways. And so sometimes it's hard to know the risks up front because you're kind of creating brand new. I think one risk, Todd, is, you know, a lot of people believe that Web3 or cryptocurrency or blockchain is still a highly speculative environment. I've seen a lot of proof in the pudding in the sense that many different models that have been brought to the table have found success. One example is DocuSign is starting to bring their contracts over to the blockchain so that the all contracts and agreements are basically transparent. And the blockchain basically runs an algorithm to let folks know whether or not a certain contract or agreement favors one party over the other. And so not only can the public or, you know, the general ecosystem help monitor and keep track of that contract, but also the folks entering into it can know how they line up against one another, right? And there are probably some risks in that and really incredible benefits. But it's kind of like until we start going, it's a little bit hard to know. So as I was saying, it is deemed by many to still be a highly speculative environment, right? And so one of the risks is if the blockchain falls apart tomorrow, right, the things that we have built on the blockchain could suffer from it. What's nice about a decentralized and autonomous organization is it does still have structure, it does still have regulating guidelines, and so we could move that to more of an analog or a Web 2 model if needed, but we do lose some of maybe like the tokenomics or the trustless transparency of the blockchain. So that's certainly a risk. I don't have a full list of other risks. I would love if folks had ideas on what the risks might be. The benefits are that it basically just kind of brings some formality to the way CTW has been operating. Not to say that this has been informal, but rather we can build a smart contract around the way CTW has been operating. We can bring a tokenomic model to the way CTW has been operating that could potentially benefit the folks within the ecosystem. It allows for other folks, right, like the broader billion people, to enter into the ecosystem and benefit from all of the advice and expertise that y'all have and probably would retain from some kind of, leadership or, SME role within the DAO. Maybe you're leading a committee or maybe you're on a council, right? Something like that. But I think it does bring like some long-term potential in terms of who's involved and how the tokenomics allow the system to operate long-term. But it also just brings a new layer of structure that is a little bit experimental, in other senses already proven, to the CTW construct. Does that answer, Todd? Sorry, I'm trying to keep up with all of the comments.
Yes, Katrina, that was really awesome. Thank you.
Sure, no problem. Okay, so we talked about what some of the risks are, what some of the benefits are. There are obviously more as we start to build this model out. Some of those will become more apparent. How can we all help? We talked a little bit about this. What training would you recommend as DAO 101? So there is a lot out there. It's common for the Web3 space to produce things in Medium articles. And so if you start to look up DAOs 101 or Web3 101, you can generally trust a Medium article. It's kind of like the Web3 communication tool of choice. But DAO Stack, DAO Canvas, those offer some ideas on like how DAOs are built, what it looks like to create the building blocks. There are also some incredible DAOs out there. Robert Leschner of Compound Labs and Kane Warwick of Synthetics are really strong thought leaders within this space. And so it would be worthwhile to check out Compound Labs or Synthetics. You can look up like, what's the deal with DAOs, right? There are some Forbes articles out there. But what's really interesting is if you start to look at Compound Labs, if you start to look at Synthetics, maybe even Coinbase, they start to talk about tokenomics, tokens, DAO models, DAO structures in their FAQs and in some of their blogs and articles. And that really starts to paint a well-rounded picture. Of course, there are things that are coming out from Harvard, from the New York Times, right? Those will insert more of that kind of speculative viewpoint, which I think is really good and helpful to allow you to think about all of the different things. But that would kind of be my suggestion on where to start. You can look up Ethereum. Vitalik has written many things on Ethereum. He's one of the founders of Ethereum. So you can look up some things published by Vitalik. There's a lot out there. What I would say is like to start getting a well-rounded view or perspective on this, I would say to just start reading a couple of different things, right? And it'll start to surface some of those questions that the general community has, and you can potentially start to answer them through some of the research that you do.
Hey, Katrina, there's a brilliant podcast that John shared with me, which is the Ezra Klein show. It's the 15th of October version. And it's basically a crypto optimist and a crypto skeptic walk into a bar. And it's about an hour long. I listened to it on the flight up here yesterday. It's just awesome. It just sort of brings it all to to life. So I'd really recommend it. It's a New York Times thing. So the Ezra Klein show, have a look at that. And if you want to learn about DAOs and crypto, actually not necessarily DAOs so much, but the world of crypto and Web 3.0, then it's a really good listen.
Yeah, I think that's great, Barry. Something to remember, it always gets interesting when you're dealing with what they call maxis in the space or crypto maximalists. There are always extreme sides, right, of every coin. And so it's always really interesting, you know, like Barry said, to balance that out with a positive and a negative, or like a optimist and a pessimist around these ideas. But what I would say is generally the ideas of like a Bitcoin maximalist or a crypto maximalist doesn't necessarily transcend across the entire Web3 or NFT, blockchain, crypto space. So just keep that in mind. Yes, okay, so Chris said the challenges though are that people that want to get in on the token work must have income streams aside from the work they are doing for tokens. The risk to one's personal professional sustainability and stability is not specific, and the risks are specifically outlined. So I think this is great, right? You know, as I've been thinking a little bit about the purpose of the CTW DAO, right? We can say it's to transform work for 1 billion people by 2025, but inherent within that is some kind of model or template that we're going to bring to the table. And what we've been ideating on in the past is how to equip folks to maybe be consultants in the space, or to approach different organizations, you know, maybe the enterprises, and say, hey, I can do this too now, right? Maybe folks get certification. And so that's something that's really interesting, is like maybe baked into our DAO model is something akin to like a profit sharing or a revenue sharing. One thing to look at here, Chris, I don't know if you've heard of the Brain Trust token and how Brain Trust is operating, but they have a really interesting structure set up where folks can come in, be a part of the DAO, but they still get to see the upside from working directly with an enterprise. So both the individual and the DAO shares in the upside of working with an enterprise and seeing a successful completion of a contract or an agreement. And so I think it's really great where it's like, maybe the token is incentive to participate in the DAO. You know, maybe we have a thing called a reputation token. That means if you start to have successful contracts within coming out of the DAO, you get more reputation token. Maybe the reputation token is equal to some kind of monetary value, which has a big question mark if we want to remain a nonprofit organization. But maybe it also just means that you get first in line opportunity for future contracts, right? And so I think it's a really good question. It's like, how do we make sure that people get food on the table and not just say like, yeah, we're going to give everybody tokens and it'll all work out, and rather protect for this idea that like there's kind of like an ecosystem that they are privy to and can earn rewards in that gets them access to future upside or revenue by virtue of the contributions that they make within the DAO. Does that make sense? That would be kind of my first thought around that, Chris. And I have a lot of ideas around this, right? The ways that we can present tokens to the community.
So Katrina, I have a question. In terms of the token, is this the token that will be created in CTW? Is that going to be something that we could also trade in other ecosystems? Like I could actually use that token to purchase another ecosystem, which is, I think the terminology is interoperability.
Interoperability. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, good question. And sorry, we have folks on our roof who are making a lot of noise. So please tell me if it's too loud. But Mafe, yeah, I think it's a good question. You know, there's a couple of constraints that I've been given around the future of a CTW DAO. And one is the big question mark around what might it look like to remain a nonprofit organization. So previously we had discussed, like, could there be a profit sharing token that operates within the DAO, and then maybe that profit sharing token interoperates with other ecosystems. At the end of the day, what we will build are probably ERC20 tokens, which is an Ethereum-based protocol, which means it's built on the Ethereum blockchain, which is currently the most like broadly and commonly used protocol on Ethereum. And what that typically means is that you could interoperate with other with other tokens created on Ethereum with whatever token that we create within the CTW DAO. So it should allow for that. And the reason I say should is because the current token model that I've been ideating on for the CTW DAO is like a governance token and a reputation token. So it'd be like a dual token ecosystem. And the governance token would allow you to do certain things with regard to voting. So you could bring proposals forward, you could vote on council members, right? And that's what your governance token would allow you to do. And a reputation token would allow you to do what I had said before, where it's like, you do great work, you get reputation token gets you access to future projects and initiatives. And so that's the current idea. The thought is that we would probably still think about some kind of ICO that still supports a nonprofit model. And so what I would say loosely, Mafe, is yes, by virtue of it being an ERC20 token, it does allow you to interoperate with other ecosystems. And that's simply because it's built on the Ethereum blockchain, and it's one of the most commonly traded types of tokens on Ethereum. ERC, yeah, it's ERC20.
Katrina, I'm going to ask you dumb questions again, okay? Because
Yeah, no
sometimes when I'm in these conversations, it's like, you know, we're in the Lord of the Rings and we're debating, you know, fictional characters and the strengths of different fictional characters.
Yep.
For me, fundamentally, what is if there's any profit, there has to be a commercial transaction, which means there's a buyer and there's a seller and there's a product being sold. If I don't know what is CTW's product, who is the buyer, who is the seller, where is the value being created, what is this, what is the signal that there is increase in value or decrease in value? If not, it sounds like a pizza party, which which is not something that I understand, and neither do I care, frankly. Right. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to simplify it and ask you simple questions. Where is the commercial transaction? Where is the value to the buyer? And where is the source of the profit? And if there is profit, what is the value driver of increasing that profit, which increases the token?
Yep, that's a great question, Balaji. And some of that is.
And if you don't mind responding to that in just simple English.
Yeah, let me, I feel like I'm in a horror set right now. Let me just trade rooms real quick.
No, we can hear you perfectly. Whatever
Okay.
background is not bothering at all.
Okay. Yes, Balaji, I think that's a great question. And a little bit of that is still to be determined, right? I think what we need to decide is like, what is inherently, right? What we've decided as CTW is like, we're going to transform work for 1 billion people by 2025. And I think even that can be a little bit of a broad vision, right? It's like, how do we do that? How do we measure that? What are the indicators that we've been successful? And so that's some of the structure that I want to build into it, Balaji, is like, what exactly does this look like? I think if you take a look at the brain trust model, which could probably be very similar to what we have here, it's like that starts to model a lot of what I think we're trying to do. Anyway, all that to say, from like how we're going to exact change, who is going to benefit, right? Like
again, I'm going to ask you simple questions again.
Yeah, go ahead.
Who is the buyer? In the brain trust model, there's there's an enterprise that is paying money to buy the time of a freelancer and is paying a markup to Brain Trust.
Yep.
And they are, and they're using some reputational systems to bring additional value to that commercial transaction so that they can reduce the fee to reduce the transactional cost to the buyer. There is a commercial transaction there where the token is aiding in increasing the value of the commercial transaction so that the freelancer can benefit. Maybe there's a client can benefit. I don't know what the commercial transaction in CTW is.
Yep. And I think that's part of what we have to decide as an organization together, right? What we previously worked on with Open Assembly was this idea of OTPCP, right? That was the model that we had a theory around back in February, and we started to test, and we said, maybe this isn't the right angle of attack. And so we started to approach it differently. And so one of the things that we started to say is like, can we train the mid-level manager at an enterprise, right? And what would that look like? And maybe that's the offer that we bring to the table with CTW. Maybe it's a set of standards.
Let's just use that, Katrina, right? So let's say there is a OTCP training program and some company or some buyer or some seller has paid $1,000 for that program, right? Can you explain what is the function of the token? What makes having a token better in that situation?
Yeah, so if you can imagine, right, we have 10,000 people within the CTW DAO. The folks who are doing more things within the DAO get rewarded with certain reputation tokens. So let's say that this person has purchased this thing at $1,000 and said, I need help. The folks with the highest number of reputation tokens are going to be the first at the table to be able to serve this deal. Right. And they get to choose, let's just say it's the red beacon model where it's like you get presented with 5 contractors and you get to choose, well, your 5 contractors are the ones that have the most reputation tokens. And what it does is it starts to expand the reach beyond the 40 folks that we have on the call, and it starts to help the broader 1 billion people that we're trying to transform work for. And it basically allows a lot of different folks to show up. And you can imagine if we have 10,000 folks, say we have 4 enterprises approaching us a day. This is just hypothetical. They can't all serve, the top owner of the reputation token can't all serve those 4 enterprises deals at the same time, let's just say. So we start to go through the folks who have varying amounts of reputation tokens. Right. And so everybody starts to get to show up at the table. And you don't have to earn reputation tokens just by serving enterprise deals. You can do it by maybe serving in a committee or presenting a standard within the organization that benefits or a certain amount of resources. Right. And so everybody can earn reputation tokens in different ways. What I see is the token presents a really good opportunity to organize the idea of having more than the 40 people that we have on this call at the table, and something more like 5,000 or 10,000 members trying to occupy a single ecosystem.
I appreciate your patient responses, Katrina. Thank you.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. No problem, Balaji.
One thing Katrina, that I hear in our questions is I'm wondering, like, phases of a token gaining adoption feels to me behind a lot of this. As I understand it, one of the initial thoughts for a token for CTW was more internal, where it was essentially CTW rewarding contributions of volunteers. And that was the commercial transaction. I wonder if a second phase, as that token gains adoption, is sort of volunteers rewarding each other. So members of this community maybe start to exchange tokens for services provided to each other. And then I wonder if a third layer is then sort of this wall to outside of the community, and how does a token interoperate with other systems of reward like money or other tokens. I'd be interested maybe in a future session of like hearing how that generally unfolds, or if we have thoughts for how that unfolds underneath a lot of it.
Yeah,
the token day one doesn't have that adopted value yet.
Yeah, I mean, I love this conversation. Obviously, this started from the business business group, work stream group way back when, and really appreciate kind of the journey. But we got to remember this like one step at a time, and we're still so early. Not only we early in kind of this game, you know, understanding Web 3.0 and tokenization and DAOs, the whole world is. And so it's going to take some time to figure it out. But I think one of the things that's really important from a principle standpoint is that it's about community activation and democratization. And that's what I love about this group, is this community coming together, asking tough questions, figuring this out together live. And Katrina, I really appreciate all your leadership here. I know we're out of time, but I really appreciate that and look forward to kind of the journey together with all of us to figure this out. I think there's a lot of great benefits, but also, you know, obviously like anything new, there are potholes we have to watch out for. So I know in closing that Karin from HBS has something that she wants to just mention really quickly, and then we'll close it off.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Katrina, for your patience and the overview. So we've been working for a while on how to think of platforms as a way to support mental health in the future of work, and what platforms can do to contribute, develop new models, but also not burn through, you know, talent the way that corporations have. So if you have an example of a platform, or if you yourself have a practice that might be useful, we're going to follow up on our Clubhouse event from August with a post in OA, and hopefully a follow-up conversation. I know we're having a conversation next week on how to support the freelancer. So I'll put my email in the chat. We'd love to have all of the ideas, and also position us a little bit like a leader in this space, because we don't want the passion economy to be burning people out. Thank you, guys.
That's awesome, Karin. Thanks so much. Yeah, I really appreciate and love you guys, and really appreciate all the time and energy. Great questions, great thoughts, lots to consider here, and let's just keep going down the road of figuring out how do we do the best work so we can transform work for 1 billion people by 2025. All the best. Take care.
Thanks, John. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, y'all.
Great conversation. Thank you.